everyone. Whoa, it's Marc Sabatella listening to himself echoing. And what the? Got it. Okay, sorry about that. Marc Sabatella from Mastering MuseScore here. Always an adventure. And welcome to the Music Masterclass. And this is kind of a special edition. Really just going to be looking at some holiday music. I'll be playing through some of the lead sheets that you all have created, talking about my process a little bit, giving you some tips, and hopefully just enjoying ourselves today. So one thing I'm noticing here is, okay, I did actually post twice into the chat. Yeah, because the chat was acting a little funny for me earlier, but it seems to be okay now. So, yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy Hanukkah, whatever other holidays you might be celebrating this time of year. And yeah, I just want to be looking at some music and talking through some of the ways that I go about playing things, tell you maybe a little story or two about a song, and just enjoy ourselves. So I'm going to, this is going to be very, more informal even than usual. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to bring up my own score for O Come All Ye Faithful that I've been using as an example, and just kind of play through this a little bit and talk, since this is one that, anyone who's been following along in my lessons has seen me use as examples, has seen me talk about. Get my bench positioned well for the keyboard here. All right, so I'm going to just play through this simply, but also maybe, I don't know, trying to show you some of the things that I would do, in real life, as it were. So let me see what I want to do. I'm going to and bring up my chat window so I can see chat and MuseScore at same time. There we go. So, I'm going to play through this piece, and I'm going to play the melody while I play the chords. I assume most of you are familiar with this, but here's what I'm going to encourage. I mean, it doesn't work to try to do actual sing-along where everyone's on camera together trying to sing together, right? There is no way to synchronize that. And yes, Charlie Brown Christmas Tree. That is my one of my Christmas decorations. The other one is a nightlight, the Christmas Story leg lamp. There you go. That's my other big Christmas decoration. But it's a nightlight. It's hanging from the wall right now. So, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and play through O Come All Ye Faithful with the melody and the chords, and by all means, sing along. If you're in a place where you can sing, sing. So as I was saying before, it doesn't really work to try to all sing together. That would be awesome if that were possible. We could all actually sing along together. But, you can just sing along on your own. So I'm going to play the melody, and feel free to sing. And I'm just going to play through one chorus of this, one verse, and I'll try to see if I can scroll while I play, which will be a little tricky. But, what I could do is I could try to play while MuseScore plays. That's going to be complicated. Can I do that? Can I actually pull that off? I'm going to try it. I'm gonna try to play while MuseScore plays, and that way it will scroll for me. We'll see if that works. There's my first note. You go. That's O Come All Ye Faithful being read from the being read from this lead sheet. And so I want to talk a little bit about my process. I've explained like this real simple accompaniment process, but it's really a similar process if I'm playing the melody. Remember I talked about like playing the triad and arranging it so that middle C is like there in the crook between your thumb and forefinger, and try to get your chords basically there. And that's a good place to be if you're just playing accompaniment. Well, if you're trying to play the melody, you're going to still just want to invert the chord as appropriate. But now, instead of thinking about thumb positioning, we're just going to do it top down from the pinky. So G is my top note because that's the melody note. And then there's the melody note. There's my D. And then here's my melody note. Here's my melody note. There's my melody note, right? And, you know, if the melody stays somewhere around this region of the piano, you know, that upper fourth octave from C4 to C5, if I'm doing my numbering correctly, I know there's different standards for it, so I can never keep straight. But if the melody is mostly sitting here in that upper half of that octave, well, then you're going to end up with voicings that basically are in that same area. The bottom note will basically be around middle C. So often you end up with the same inversions either way. But I am deliberately like working the melody into that. Now, when I played it there, I played it quite simply. I didn't really do any additional adding of notes or anything, but let's think about what I did rhythmically. And of course, I don't know exactly what I did, but I'll try this again, and this time paying attention to what I'm doing as opposed to just playing whole notes. And, you know, the thing is, if I'm playing the melody is giving me some rhythm right there, so I might not be doing much else, but my guess is my left hand was doing something. All right, so let me just talk. I just, you know, moved my hand back and forth between octaves. That's a simple little trick you can do in these measures that have no chord change. Just change your octave. And here, I played just the wrong chord. I played the D7. I elected not to come all the way down and play a whole D7 chord. I just decided that was too much hand motion, and that the world wouldn't come to an end if I only played those two notes. That simplifies my voice leading problem. It simplifies my hand moving problem. And then the other thing I could do is just play the D7 on the downbeat like I did before, so I get to hear that F sharp. You know, and then maybe I skip the A minor. I put it in there, and if I was just playing accompaniment, yeah, I probably would play the A minor and the D7 if I'm only playing accompaniment. But if I'm trying to work the melody in there, maybe that's a simplification. Simplify my 2-5 to just the 5. Colleen, you've got the sweatshirt, right, that says it's the 2 is just the 5 or something like that, right? That's the story. If when you have a 2-5, you can always simplify it to just a 5 if you want. Or conversely, if you have a 5, you can also unsimplify it to become a 2-5 if that suits your needs. So now, the other thing I did, I'm just going to talk through, is instead of just playing the melody here, I moved it in parallel sixths. And that's always a thing you can do. This parallel sixths or parallel thirds or the whole triad. The thing is, I don't have to do a lot of analysis to tell me what's going on here. I could say, oh, that's a G chord, that's an F sharp diminished, that's a G, that's an A minor. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's parallel motion. It's going to be fine. And when we're playing from a lead sheet, we make easy decisions like this. The 2 is just the 5. There you go. Yeah, I like it. So making those sorts of simplifications is totally I mean, not, did I say simplification? I don't know. Making these, it is a simplification in that I'm not thinking through the voice leading every note. I'm just moving my hand around in a parallel shape, and we've seen that a million times. And yes, sometimes if you're writing it out and thinking about it, you want to think about all the every last little bit of voice leading and all to make sure it's perfect. And maybe instead of this, I would have made another diminished chord there, maybe. I don't know if I actually like that any better, though. So anyhow, those are some of the things I'm doing. Now, I played only that. I just played that G all by itself, going to the E minor. But here's the thing. When I am reading from a lead sheet like this that I see is basically fairly simple, I am looking ahead. And I'm relying on my ear to tell me certain things. Like, I could probably throw in a secondary dominant to lead to that E minor. Now, so leading to the E minor, a secondary dominant, 5 in the key of E minor is B7. So yeah, I might try to put a B7 in here. Do I worry that the G clashes with it? I don't know. I try it the first time. If I like it, I'll do it the next time. If I don't like it, I won't do it the next time. So let's see. So I made this, basically, it ends up being an augmented chord. It's okay. I said it was a secondary dominant, but I didn't play it that way. I played the chromatic bass line. And that's just a thing I do a lot. When you have basically 5 resolving to 6, what we call a deceptive cadence, connecting 5 and 6 with a passing diminished chord, it gives you a tonicization of that 6th chord, and it often fits the melody nicely. In this case, I don't know, maybe a different voicing would have made me happier. The thing is, it goes by quick enough that I don't worry about it. But again, if I'm just reading from a lead sheet, you don't get to stop and do all this stuff. This is what's going on in my head in real time while I play this. So I'm stopping to show you some of the things that I might think about in real time. Now, what did I do there? Oh, I didn't do anything fancy, really. It's just the F sharp was a 13th, and it sounded nice and jazzy. Again, or if I think that I'm in the key of D, parallel 6 with a C sharp because I'm in the key of D. Here again, I got a whole measure of nothing, so just fill it with some basic root and fifth in the left hand. There's other things you can do, but that's a nice thing. So have I played 1, 2, and 5 with a 3 below in the bass? So what kind of chord are we talking about? Let's see, if I take a D chord and play the 1, 2, 5. Oh, that's one of those pretty chords, right? It's not necessarily a jazz chord. It's not necessarily a pop chord. It's a chord that people who arrange music and want it to sound pretty, they're like borrowing a little from a pop language, borrowing a little from a jazz language, but it's a beautiful sound. Is all I would say. It's a triad with an added ninth, and it doesn't have to be in that inversion, right? But if I arrange it in different inversions, there's other inversions that sound nice too. But I will say that this one in particular has just a nice basing to it. And it's one I associate with like choral arrangers who work in, sort of modern popular type styles. Not even popular, but just modern but not atonal styles. When I think about Eric Whitacre, who I've talked about before, those are the kinds of sounds that he uses it. Oh, the mu chord. So that's the other thing. Okay, so is that all there is to a mu chord? I thought there was more to that. So if I needed to notate this chord, I would say D, add 9 / F sharp. D, add 9 / F sharp. So D add 9 over F sharp. So the deal with the mu, or moo, I don't even know what you're supposed to call it. This comes from Steely Dan, the group Steely Dan. They used a sound related to that a lot, and I don't know if it was Donald Fagen or what's the other guy, Walter Becker, or if it was someone else analyzing their music later, or someone else, one of the session musicians on one of their albums. But somehow the name mu for that chord, or moo, I guess mu, sort of just sort of got attached to that sound within the world of Steely Dan. That's not a term that's well known or used by musicians in general, but it is known if you've studied that little offshoot of music there and know that some people have referred to this as the Steely Dan mu chord. I don't know if is it really just a 4-note voicing? I always thought of it as a root-based voicing, but I haven't really investigated all the people who write about that chord, but it is a pretty chord. And Steely Dan is like that perfect example of what I mean, of this pop/jazz thing. The other pop people will say, oh, that's pretty jazzy. Jazz people will say, oh, that's pretty poppy, right? It's somewhere in the middle there. So anyhow, play that in the middle of the measure if I wanted, and then I'm just really playing these pretty simple, but again, I'm using that parallel sixth trick. That parallel sixth trick is amazingly powerful. You can get a lot of motion, a lot of interesting ways of, it fills up space nicely in ways that usually sound good, and you don't have to think that hard about it. You just move your hand, right? So it's a lot of what happens in playing from lead sheets is a physical thing. And yeah, I mean, it's obscure. I think I only first heard the word mu as a name of that chord within the last 2 years. I don't know. Maybe that's when the video came out where someone started talking about it. I don't know if that word has been in common circulation for a long time, but I only became aware of it quite recently. So, nothing to feel bad about. And I'm just using my left hand to fill up some space. And now, once I got to this section, I was debating, right? I had talked about we could just let it be one chord and use the parallel sixths. That would be a perfectly good way of playing that. But I did add in some extra chords so that if you wanted to more have a simpler strum type of rhythmic accompaniment where you felt like you needed more chords. Right? That totally works too. So I wrote in those two chords, G over B and C, but now that I look at it, that's just doubling the bass line. I'm second guessing those. I don't really like them. So I won't play them the second time. I'm just playing it exactly as simply as I said. And I say simply, but I mean, that sounds, that's the song, right? That's how it goes. And I'm really just building the triads from below the melody, using some parallel sixths every once in a while. I think sometimes I might have doubled the melody note in my thumb occasionally. I don't know if I did. I probably did that occasionally. But that's really all I'm doing here to play from this, is building triads or seventh chords down from the melody, which is usually more or less in my pinky, and using some parallel sixths. And yes, I could use parallel thirds, but sixths just works so well as far as the shape of the hand. If it happens to work better to use thirds, great, do that. So, yeah, that's my overall approach here. So when I said the second time, I might not play this. Like, these are the decisions I make. if I play that during the first verse and say, yeah, I didn't really like that I was playing a doubled melody and bass line together, if I noticed it and didn't like it, well, then on the second verse, I don't do it. These are the sorts of things I do. And that chord that I added there, that passing diminished chord or secondary dominant there, I'm still on the fence about it, and I might have to go through like about six verses of this before I was totally sure if I wanted that chord or not. So I wanted to talk through this overall process to give you a sense of, well, what it is that I do when I'm playing these. And now I'm going to go and start playing through some of the songs that you all have submitted over the last few weeks. Some of them were submitted really early on, and I don't know if you've updated them or not, but I did grab the most recent versions of everything I could find this morning. So let's hear some stuff. I'm going to flip over to the window where I have that. Which is maybe this window? Yes, it is. So, oh, yeah, Dean, you've got a whole arrangement that you just posted, or a whole original composition. And while I'm still talking about lead sheets, we'll talk about that. But we'll see if at the end I can play that, or Jim Ivy's Away in a Manger arrangement. Maybe I'll just take a break from lead sheets at some point. But we're going to play through Angels We Have Heard on High. So again, I'm going to play the melody and sing if you feel like it, because singing is fun. That's what I say, right? So I'm going to now pin the chat here so that I can still see it while I scroll. Good, that'll work. And I'm going to play. So I'm just getting it into my voice. I'm not going to sing. I'm going to play. But I want you to know, Angels We Have Heard on High. That's where we're going to be. So most of you know this melody already, although I understand some of you have a different song that you know, Angels from the Realms of Glory or something like that, that uses a similar but not exactly the same melody. So you might want to actually be looking at the melody here and or looking at the words, or just find it yourself. In fact, is it useful? Well, you know, I'm going to post the link as I do these. I will post the links. So let me come over to, oh, I have to yeah, it's a little bit of a pain to like manage whether it's pinned or not. But here's the link to that. All right. All right, I'm going to play, and I invite you to sing if you feel like it. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. Okay, nice. So I'm just going to be doing like one verse of these, in part to give myself time to talk about each one a little bit and play through them, because there's a bunch of them here, and I'll try to get to as many as I can. So we already talked about this a while ago, and there were some places where I had made some suggestions, and it looks like he's already brought in some of those suggestions. There's some places where as I play it, I'm naturally inclined to want to make a few adjustments. So I'm just going to play through it and talk about that, because as I was playing it, I had to stop myself from doing these adjustments. And I don't know that I always did stop myself. But while I'm playing, I am doing a lot of thinking, not just about where to play the notes, because that's autopilot for me, but about what changes do I want to make on the next verse. And so this I'm still not crazy about the 2 going directly to 1, so I want a 5 in there. So what I want to try is, and decide, is that too fast for a 2-5-1? Yeah, borderline. Maybe I just want the 5. Yeah, I like the 2 though. Maybe I just make that work. And then my parallel 6 thing. And now I'm going to try that same thing again. All right, good. So that section where I had the E minor and that quick 2-5 in there, one of the things I might want to optimize is how simply I can get away with doing it. Do I need all those notes to move, or just the D to the C sharp? Maybe that tells me enough of the story. Nope, that wasn't enough. But I think that's enough. If I just move the D to the C sharp and play the root, I think that's actually enough to make me happy. So these are decisions. If I am playing from a lead sheet, accompanying or you know, whether it's accompanying or playing solo, I'm going to make that decision quickly. Like I get to play that same thing twice just on the first verse. So I've already gotten to try it 2 different ways. By the second verse, maybe I've come to a decision. Maybe by the second verse, I try one more thing here, and I'm not so sure that didn't work either. So then by the second phrase of the second verse, I've settled on what I want. Playing from lead sheets is very much this sort of game playing of thinking ahead, thinking about what's going on. So just in the Gloria part, is the part that I remember. Whoops. Is kind of that alto part. I don't know that that's the exact alto part from the classic 4-part arrangement, but that is the moving line I hear, and it definitely, in my mind, is a B7 instead of a B minor 7, even though I think the classic version really is just a B. But why not be B7? Because that leads to the E minor nicely. So that's kind of what I started to play, and then so, oh no, I'm going to talk about that. So, and I might try to get that line in there, because to me, I hear that associated with the song. And then I'm like, can I pull it off? And all I did was play those chords very simply, but play that Other than that, I'm just playing the melody and filling in the triad below my pinky, but I'm sneaking in that one moving line because I like that line. I'm singing different lines. And here I tried to do some fancy, right? I remember trying to do that. It didn't work, but you know, I still want to try it, and I get to blow it again here, and he's giving me a different chord there, but every time I want. Maybe something like that. I don't know. I feel like there's some interesting thing that I want to make happen with the bass there other than just the parallel sixth. And so if I were to take the time to work it out, I would figure it out. But I'm going to fail. I can see that right now. If I were playing this in real time, trying to work this out, I would have tried a few things and never quite found it, because the first 3 things I found weren't it already. And that's even with the luxury of time on my side. But I still feel like... maybe that works okay. it's what this is this is parallel 6, but it's doing it in the bass. And some part of my brain just told me I wanted that. And I don't know if it's because some part of my brain is remembering the classic 4-part arrangement that maybe does that. I don't know. Or if it's just my brain telling me it. But my brain is telling me that parallel 6 thing, but spread out down to the bass, might be a cool idea. Okay, so now here's the other thing. I had talked about before deceptive resolution from 5 to 6 as an opportunity for a passing diminished chord. Anytime the root is moving up a step is an opportunity for a passing diminished chord. And check this out. Right? That G4 to sharp 4 diminished to 5. And I'm calling it sharp 4 diminished because technically it's a G sharp diminished chord, but that E in the melody really makes it into an E7 chord. It really turns it into a secondary dominant. That relationship always holds. Passing diminished chord going up, secondary diminished, secondary dominant. So whether I call this G sharp diminished going to A, or whether I call it E7 going to A, it's really the same chord. It's the same notes, right? And I'm telling you this because, yes, I totally am doing this on the fly because my brain sees this. I'm about to go up a step. I know that passing diminished chord thing works, and it just makes me want to play that line. And I can, like, you learn to do certain adjustments like that on the fly. So, every time I encounter something like that, I'll be pointing it out. I'm going to flip over to another song now, and this is the God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. I believe, Graham, this was yours, and I remember giving some comments on it before, and it looks like you've also made some of those changes that I talked about before, but now I'm just going to play it. And again, I encourage you to sing, and I'm going to keep using this same basic approach because it hasn't failed me yet. Filling in triads below my pinky, and that's basically it. Okay, those are your first few notes. If you already know the melody, which most of you do, sing. If you want to sight read it because you don't know the song, that's great too. Or just listen and have fun. Not going to make you sing, but singing's fun. Singing is fun. So, now this normally goes kind of quick, and so I might have to simplify my triad some. We'll see what kind of simplification I need to do to get away with doing this thing, but I'm going to try it. Because, I didn't practice each of these ahead of time. I, wanted to give you the experience of what it is like to read from a lead sheet, which is largely a sight reading experience. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I did all right. So, yes, nice, Graham. And we talked about a few things there. And I'm going to just remember what I did. I felt like there should have been a half cadence here. Nothing you dismay should have ended on the 5 chord. So this time I'm just going to adjust it to make that happen. Okay, so, yeah. Let me get my fake book here. This is the fake book that I have used the most for Christmas. And it's the Ultimate Christmas Fake Book, 3rd edition from Hal Leonard. I'm not mentioning this because I particularly recommend it. It's got a large selection of songs. The chords aren't terrible, but they're not great either. I'm constantly fighting the chords in this book thinking that, you know, I'm not like liking the chords they chose. They either oversimplified or undersimplified. And yeah, so what they have here, I'm going to play it. I can't easily show it to you, so I'm not going to try. They have this. So that whole mental C, G, G, C, B, E, oh, that is too much. So, yeah, no. But what I do learn from this is they did, in fact, land on that half cadence there, right? But too much stuff. So I'm not a fan. So, I'm constantly reading from fake books where I'm like, yeah, those chords aren't working for me for whatever reason, and making the adjustments that I need so that, like I say, by the second verse, maybe I've got chords that I'm liking better. If I'm playing in a band, like with other people, I'll be, bass player, pianist and bass player will be like making eyes at each other with like there's like, I don't know, things that you do of like head nod to like indicate that you're going up or down or around the circle of fifths. There's like different ways of attempting to convey what you're doing. I will often just telegraph my next bass note, and so a bass player can watch my left hand to see what root I'm about to play. Or I can watch the bassist, but it's harder. I can't see what a bassist is doing. I mean, I see his finger going down on a fret, but it's much harder to tell what they're doing. But sometimes you can, especially if it's a walking motion, a stepwise motion. So anyhow, I'm going to try to like make some changes here, and I would be communicating with the bassist so that we would be on the same page. But that's all I need. That's all I need. C to the B. And that chord progression there, that flat 6 going into the 5, that's like really a typical type of chord progression there. Now, could have been a 2-5. Except I don't really love the sound of the G against that F sharp minor 7 flat 5, that F sharp half diminished chord, nor would I like it over a plain F sharp minor 7. So I like the C. I think it just works well. And then I'm going to do it again. So I'm not opposed to the extra chords that are in there, but maybe at this point I'm like, yeah, whatever I use for the first phrase, I'm going to use the same thing for the second phrase. And I'm making stuff up, and I'm not liking it any better than the simple version because the tempo is quick. I don't need that many chords. So, and because I can, and because I'm in a minor key, I got a flat 9 on that B7 chord. This is a thing. Flat 9s on dominance in minor keys, they really give that dark flavor that you want. Flat 9s on dominance can be nice in major keys too. But in minor keys, what it really does is it turns it into that fully diminished 7 chord sound. Bach would have done the same. So you'll often see me, since it's right there anyhow, the melody note was the root, and yeah, I could double the root down here, but the flat 9's right next door. Real easy. I'm just going to hit it. I don't want that C there. I mean, it's a fine chord, but I'm trying to keep it simpler. Now, here, I'm hearing a 2-5-1, and so I'm just going to try it. Yeah, that's what I'm used to hearing there. 2-5-1 in G. Then, again, that C to the B sound. These are the sounds that I'm used to hearing. My brain is telling me to put an A major chord there, and I want to see what Hal Leonard says. Comfort and joy? They've got a D? No way. Uh, a tiny love comfort and joy. Maybe? I don't know. I liked my A major there a lot. I don't know. That's one of those other ones that I would have to play through a few times to decide what I liked. And again, if there's other people on the band with me, hear what they're wanting and see if we can collectively come to agreement. So, anyhow, let me just play through the piece one more time and sing along, and I'll play the chords that I think make sense, which are mostly grams, but with just my couple of adjustments there. 1, 2, 3. Great. So, okay, so it's A minor in the original. And so by the original, I guess you mean like a 4-part arrangement, a hymn arrangement that was published? Because I'm pretty sure this song probably predates whatever 4-part arrangement was published, although I don't really know that. It feels like a song that's probably older than Lutheran hymnals and so forth. But yeah, I could be wrong. But yeah, I think the A is what I expect, but I like the sound of the A major. And that makes me wonder if I was really going to be doing an arrangement of this. I'd want to listen to different recordings, see what other people have done to kind of get an idea of some things. Nice job, Graham. I'm going to flip and try something different here. I'm actually going to go to, do I want to do Santa Baby or do I want to do Christmas Time Is Here? I kind of played through Christmas Time Is Here recently. I'm going to try Santa Baby. It's in D flat. And I know, Michael Gold, you had talked about moving this to another key to make it simpler. This just came up, actually, an interesting discussion on Facebook yesterday, where a bassist that I know was asking people, if a singer hands you a lead sheet on a gig and says she wants to do it in another key, how do you go about doing that? Do you do it by trying to like move each chord down? Like, do I try, if I want to play this in C, do I do it by reading each chord and going D flat, down a half step is C, B minor 7, down a half step is A minor, then D minor, and then A flat down is G7. In other words, am I just moving every chord down a half step? I feel like I could get away with that if it's literally a half step. Maybe if it's a whole step. Any other interval, I'm going to fail because I'm going to miss one of those calculations and play something that makes no sense. So instead, if I am trying to transpose a song on site, and I'm going to try it, what I will do is I'm going to like follow that bass line. It's 1, 6, 2, 5. So that's a motion that I'm real familiar with. And so I'm going to follow the bass motion in the new key. So I'm going to put it in, I don't know, I'll put it in A because that's going to be a challenge. Now I'm not going to try to play the melody on this one, so you all can sing, but I am going to try to follow the motion. Okay, so that's how it goes. And then it starts on the 5th. It starts on the 5th of the key. So having to play through the melody that way, I'm using a combination of transposing and trying to play it by ear and not doing a great job of it, right? So that's why I'm not even going to try to do the melody with it. But I am going to try this. I am going to try to play just the chords following that bass line, and I'm going to sing that bass line. That's how I know I'm going to be hopefully getting it right. Luckily, it's a fairly simple chord progression. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm just going to sing it like a doo-wop bass player. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, 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 boom. bridge. Oh, it's coming on the next page. Oh well. I lost my place of it. Here's that part here. Bum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. Okay, so I just played through the first page, and Graham, absolutely, Blue Moon and 1,000 other songs use 1-6-2-5. So the thing that's the most familiar in a jazz context for this is I got rhythm, I got music. So Gershwin, I Got Rhythm is the quintessential 1-6-2-5 song for a jazz musician. But it does, it has some other little variations to it. But yeah, Blue Moon, a whole lot of other pop songs use that basic 1-6-2-5 thing. So I knew I could do that in whatever key I needed it to. Now, let's move on to the bridge. It's going to go up. So here's where I said I want to sing that line. So I'm going to start here with Santa Baby. And now I'm going bum, 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 ba-dum. I'm going 4-1 because I want to fill those 2 bars of 1. And that's something I know that'll do it. Just going back and forth between the 1 and the 4, or between the 1 and the 5. Boom, 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 boom. It walked up a third, right? And I'm literally walking up that third because I really want to think about how I'm getting from chord to chord. It went from D flat to F. That's up a third, right? That's from 1 to 3, which is what I Got Rhythm does also, by the way, in its bridge. So bum, 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 then around the circle of fifths, bum, 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 then around the circle of fifths again, bum, 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 bum. There we go. Well, that is I Got Rhythm's bridge. It's or something like that. That's the I Got Rhythm bridge. So this is essentially I Got Rhythm, but without the little quirk that I Got Rhythm would have had in its A section. So since we're there talking about that, well, I want to try it. I want to see Santa Baby under the tree for me. Been an awful good girl, Santa Baby. Okay, it's got to be that 1-6-2-5 because I didn't even want to do the other thing, but it would have gone like this. Santa baby, so hurry down the chimney tonight, or something like that. There's a lot of different variations on I Got Rhythm, and I know it didn't need that. It just needed more 1-6-2-5. So there's my little transposing lesson on it, recognizing the pattern. I wasn't moving each chord one by one. I was following the pattern, 1-6-2-5, and then just letting it ride. Once I knew it was a 1-6-2-5 song, and I can see it's that over and over again, then great. I just keep playing 1-6-2-5, and I did it in A, which is not a key I play in very often. And then the only thing I had to think about was getting to the bridge, and I was lucky in that I thought maybe it was going to do what I Got Rhythm does, which is go up to the 3, and I could see that it did, so I just did that. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm just following the chords here to see, are they going around the circle of fifths? And if they are, then I'm going to go around the circle of fifths. And as long as they're going around the circle of fifths, I'm going to go around the circle of fifths, and I can't go around the circle of fifths and talk at the same time, especially not in the key of A. So anyhow, that's what I think this song has to teach me here. So will there be a recording of this? I assume so. I think I remembered to press the record button when I set this up, but actually let me just do a quick little flip over and see if it says it's recording. Yep, says recording. So there will be a recording. All right. So what I am going to do is flip over and change things around a little bit. I am going to play Jim Ivy's arrangement of Away in the Manger because it's really cool sounding, and just give me a break from playing a little bit, and we get to hear some completed music here that sounds quite nice. Oh, I have to turn I have to turn the computer volume back up. So let me try that again. Nice, Jim. Beautiful arrangement. Love it. So, yeah, I just wanted to play through, something that was composed or arranged here because, yeah, I just want to be having some fun here with some music. And oh yeah, that melody is, of course, a different melody than those of you outside the United States would know, right? This is the typical American melody. I think it's the Martin Luther melody, but I'm not positive. So there's that melody, there's the Flow Gently Sweet Afton melody, and then there's that other melody that a lot of you in England and Australia know. So uh yeah, different melodies to that same lyric. And it says William Kirkpatrick. Maybe he's the actual composer of that melody. I'm not positive. So something else, since I'm thinking of it, and I did the math, I might as well share it. It is cold here. I mean, not in my studio here, but it is cold in Colorado right now. It is in Fahrenheit -13 out, which for everyone not using Fahrenheit, which is most of you, that's -25. That's how cold it is right now. So yeah, it's pretty brutal out there at the moment. So yeah, that's a beautiful arrangement. Great job, Jim. Oh, something I was trying to look up, and if I could find it fast enough, I would talk about it more. But I'm just going to go on a limb and try this anyhow. There was a key change in here. And the key change was just, typical key change of the form. By typical key change, I mean the melody is done, the song is done, and now we're doing the next verse in another key, right? So there's that type of key change. And now going to another key, right, for the next bit of melody there. So that's that type of key change. And what I've often done is contrasted that type of key change where you're just taking a melody you've already heard and doing it again in another key. That's a valid type of key change also, but it's a separate kind of key change from the type of modulation that we usually learn about in talking about classical theory and so forth. And there was something that came to mind in this, and this is it's a song. I don't know who the composer is, but it's from Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. Yes, Up a Minor Third is a beautiful. Oh, Sunrise. That's a nice. Yeah, I can buy that. And it's because it is literally taking the melody up higher, and it's going to a flatter key, so it has this total change of the landscape in going to a key that's 3 steps away on the circle of fifths, but also literally going higher in pitch. So, yeah, the How the Grinch Stole Christmas. There is a song sung there that's like what the Who's sing when they wake up in the morning, and it goes something like this. And so, yeah, that is a form of median modulation, Rod. And so it is one form of, so that's up a minor third. What I'm about to do is down a major third, because this is what happens in the Dr. Seuss one. So, actually going to C minor or to E flat major. I think it starts on the 4 chord. Yeah, so this went to E flat also. That's why it reminded me of it. It starts in C, and then it goes to the key of E flat, but it does so by starting on the 4 chord. So I just was Welcome Christmas, come this way, or however it goes. Then, so that's in C. Now in E flat, it's going to go 4, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 6. So it's, in the key of E flat. So it's the same modulation from C to E flat, but it's not taking the same melody, so we don't have a sense of it going up a third. We don't get that same brightening, but we get that same color change from adding 3 flats to the key signature. Now, what's really fascinating to me about this is 2 different places in the movie or cartoon or whatever you want to call it, they modulate out of it 2 different ways. So one of them goes like this. One of them goes so 2, 5 in E flat, then coming back to C. And this gives us B flat 7 to C. So it starts off looking like a 2-5 in the original key, but that 5 chord then resolves up a step to become the 1 chord in the original key. So which is the same thing that I do in Reunion. That's basically a 2-5 in the key of F. And then instead of resolving it back to F, I take that C chord and treat it as the flat 7 chord in the key of D. So I treat that as minor 4 to flat 7 to 1 in the key of D. And it's not a common modulation, but it's one you find there in Welcome Christmas, which is the name of that song. key of C. So anyhow, that's how that one goes. But late in a different place in the same score, you hear the same bridge. And then no, I can't remember. But anyhow, he modulates out of it a different way and it lands in a different place. I wish I could remember how it goes, but in any case, it's cool. So, what I'm going to do to finish out is play through Dean's new composition, which I haven't heard yet, but I'm going to assume is not short, but I assume is going to be very beautiful. So that's what I'm going to do as soon as I find that piece. There it is. It's 5 minutes long. So let's listen to some beautiful music to conclude the session. And I hope everyone has a great Christmas. And I'll talk to you, when it's done. But let's hear. Beautiful, Dean. Just gorgeous. So that's the show for today. So thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for all the music. Really enjoyed doing this session here, and hope everyone has a great Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year. And I will be back in January with more music masterclass, MuseScore Cafe, etc. So everyone have a great next couple of weeks, and see you soon. So play that out. I suppose I could have been playing that music while doing that little thing, but I didn't really need the music, but I've started it anyhow. So have a great time, everyone. And yeah, it's cold out there, and I'm going to just be staying home the next few days while it clears itself up. And by all means, keep posting some music. If you got some more Christmas stuff to share, I'll happily take a look at it later, and we can keep talking about it amongst ourselves. But we'll have a new project to work on next month. And so there's my addendum to my addendum there. All right. Merry Christmas, everyone.